What's up people, you're watching Cartell TV, I'm Jenny. Now we get some pretty cool cars at Cartell TV, and I have to say I was not expecting this to be one of them. But the 2019 Kia Rio in the top GT-Line trim may have surprised me a little. It's meant to be compact, affordable transportation. Well, that's a nice way to say it's not really pushing boundaries of the industry in any way. But is it pushing the boundaries of what we expect from a Kia Rio? The spec sheets for 2019 give a different vibe. It appears to have more to offer than just some seats and some wheels. It has a modern design, new engine and gearbox, more tech, and it's supposed to drive better than ever before. Moreover, it is a top trim, so it's bound to come with some goodies, despite the drive-away price of just under $23,000. Now, are these spec sheets just a collection of marketing hoo-ha? Or is there actually more to this Kia Rio? Let's find out. I actually like the design. The grille has that familiar shape, shared with far more expensive models, although it's adapted to suit the much smaller Rio. The headlights are large, but not clumsy, and the front fascia is surprisingly aggressive, making the Rio look like a hot hatch, which it is definitely not, while the side lane definitely has more of your traditional hatch feel. With the addition of these 17-inch wheels for the GT line, there's nothing gimmicky here, just a proper small hatchback. Oh, and another thing, this is the GT line trim, and it's the only one with this body kit, the twin exhaust tips, the diffuser and the grille. But under the bonnet of this trim is where the big changes are. The lower two trim levels have to settle for the familiar and very average naturally aspirated 1.4 MP litre with a 74 kilowatts of power and 133 Newton meters of torque, both pretty high in the rev range. That lower trim engine is seriously outdated, especially with the 4-speed automatic gearbox. Having that is like a punishment for buying the lower trim level. But the GT line that I have here has an all-new engine and gearbox. The engine is a 3-cylinder 1-litre turbo petrol with 88 kilowatts and 172 Newton meters of torque. This doesn't sound like much, but the turbo really makes a big difference. What I find weird is that there are 4 gearbox options, including 1 manual, 2 automatics and a dual clutch in the GT line. Yep, a DCT in the lowly Rio. Now I was pleasantly surprised by the drive. The numbers aren't huge, but the turbo engine provides top torque from just 1500 revs and all the way up to 4000. This means that the torque is available basically at all times. Also, the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox in the GT shifts fast and direct and keeps perfect revs most of the time. All this makes the car feel surprisingly responsive. Well, definitely better than the numbers suggest. It's also the most fuel-efficient version of the Rio with 5.4 litres per 100 kilometres combined. However, it's worth mentioning that this gearbox only comes in the GT line trim. And I do want to reiterate just how different they are. It's almost like driving a completely different car. The Rio S has the old and definitely outdated 4-speed automatic, while the Sport has a 6-speed auto, provided you don't go with the manual for the lower 2 trim levels. So if you want the best drive possible in the Rio, you're going to need to go for the GT line trim. Suspension tune is surprisingly good as well. Sure, you will not feel as cushioned as you would in an executive car, but I expected more of a bumpy, uncomposed ride. Combine that with good feedback from the brake pedal, and the GT line is a pretty good drive. Handling's not bad either, having in mind the class. Now don't expect curve cutting abilities, but it is precise enough to give some fun. You constantly have to adjust the steering wheel when driving on the motorway. It's weird that steering inspires more confidence while going through curves than cruising in a straight line. Now I wasn't expecting a lot from the interior, but I have to say I've been pretty pleasantly surprised. There are your hard plastics, but it is an entry-level car. And overall, I'm really quite impressed by the design on the inside. It's smart. The steering wheel looks and feels pretty good, and the 7-inch touchscreen, it's decent. It's responsive and it has a rear view camera and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's a great size. And also Kia's infotainment system is one of the better ones in the category. It's really easy to use. And having access to an interface like Apple CarPlay, all of your familiar apps are right there at your fingertips, so it makes everyday driving really easy and enjoyable. Lower your eyes and you'll see climate controls and some charging points, and again, not much else. Now they've obviously gone for minimal and practical design, and it looks nice and clean. I do like the fact that they haven't tried too hard, and that works for a car like the Rio. What really surprised me was that the top trim has only manual climate control. Now that's not really that much of a problem, but it is surprising considering it's a 2019 model and also the fact it's a top trim, and there's also no push button start or proximity keys. Rear headroom and legroom are not the best for adults, but 2 in the back will be okay. Another surprise here is that there's no rear air vents, even in the top trim. With 325 litres of boot space with the seats up, the Rio can't really carry loads of things. You do get more space from a Suzuki Baleno or Honda Jazz, but for this class, it's decent. The Rio has 60/40 foldable seats, and if you fold them flat, gives a respectable 980 litres. In terms of safety, all versions of the Rio get ABS, electronic stability control, vehicle stability management, hill start assist, reverse sensors, rear view camera with dynamic guidelines, and dusk sensing headlights. The Sport adds nothing. Seriously, not even one safety feature has been added to the second bottom trim. Now step on up to the GT line I have here and you get autonomous emergency braking, forward collision warning, driver attention alert, LED DRLs, front fog lights, rear combination lights and position lamps. Now the Rio is supposed to be good value and affordable and not much else really. So did it meet that main goal? Definitely yes. An added bonus is that it will pleasantly surprise you every now and then with performance or equipment, and that's just great. The GT line trim is also well measured, giving that little bit extra that separates it from other cars in this class and price range. On the other hand, I'm not so sure who will buy the Kia Rio S. Hell, even the Sport has a duller ride, and the bottom 2 trim levels really fall behind in terms of safety. It's a little harsh, but is it possible that the only redeeming feature of the bottom 2 trim levels is the infotainment screen? Maybe. Okay, so I did mention the price of the GT earlier, but here are the prices for the whole Rio lineup. And I guess current offers from Kia that have Rio S starting at $16,990 drive away do make it more enticing and a thrifty purchase. Still, the GT line would definitely be my pick of the bunch and the one that I would like to live with on a day-to-day basis. It's affordable, relatively fun to drive, has good looks and some modern safety features and that nice infotainment system. And there's one more thing to sweeten the deal. If you know Kia, you will also know they offer 7-year warranty and cap price servicing for all those 7 years. And that adds up to $3,392. So all in all, the Rio in the GT line is a good car. If you will, a rose among thorns. Thanks again for watching Cartell TV. So the Rio in the GT line, I like it. What do you think? Have they made enough improvements that you would consider buying it? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And we'll see you next time. Peace.